What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Weekly Cheddar. It is back and at a proper time as well. Last show, of course, was a while back, breaking down the Packers draft class. We did that in depth. I'm sure all of y'all saw that and hope you enjoyed it. Now we are making our shift to training camp because in a few short days, the Packers rookies and the vets will all be there. And I'm excited. I know y'all are excited. Football is almost back, which means you're going to see a lot more of this. Of course, the break is over, and I hope you guys are excited because I think it's going to be a lot of fun hanging out, talking training camp, what we see from preseason. So all of that is going to be a lot of fun. I see some folks are rolling in here, which is great. Didn't know how many are going to be back. We had to kind of postpone it a couple times to find a night that worked. Summer schedule has been quite busy and will continue to be. And it's a Monday, not a Friday, because I will not be here on Friday. However, Adam's asking how I can do Weekly Cheddar and play NCAA football at the same time. I will be living vicariously through others with NCAA football for a while. So I'm excited to see what others do. But I will not be involved in it, at least in the short term. I am excited to get the game. Might get it on PC. We'll see. Prince Capsaicins here says Stormfront coming through. Yeah, it is. I heard 9:30. We'll see on my end. Don't know about all of your guys' ends as well, but yeah, hopefully the stable internet can work. But I don't think we're going to have a super long show because, as I said, we went on the break. Who knows how many people are going to be chilling with us tonight. But hopefully some come back for the rewatch. We're going to have hopefully a couple videos this week, I will say. So that should be exciting. Hope you guys are ready for content to start rolling back out. But yeah, I think really the best way to talk about the training camp storylines is I wrote down a few positions that we're going to do just because I think we could be here all night talking about every position. A lot of people have already broken down a lot of the positions. I know Paul Brettel did a lot on his series on his end, which was great. And I'm excited for all of that. I got some reading to catch up on for sure. But I think, if questions are not abounding just yet, we'll get y'all's takes as I continue to roll through these. But offensive line, I think is a great place to start. There's a lot of questions. Obviously, the Zach Tom injury is interesting. That's something Joseph popped in here way earlier, I think back on Friday or Saturday when I was planning to go live initially, and said that the Zach Tom and Kraft injuries are concerning. I think the Zach Tom injury is going to let others, have a chance to step up. We need to see more at tackle. I think finding tackle 3 now is very, very important. Jordan Morgan, is he going to be one of the starters? Is he going to be a reserve? Is he going to be playing inside? I can't wait to find out where Jordan Morgan fits, where he gets played a lot in training camp, where he gets reps in the preseason. That's going to be really, really fun to see what Green Bay's thinking. If they truly have the belief that, we've heard a lot about, tackle. We've heard a lot about, yes, he can play. We believe he can play multiple spots. A lot of people pre-draft said that. I think a lot of people graded him as a guard. I graded him as both, kept the higher grade as the guard for him. So I'm excited to see where he fits in, if he's going to get some reps at right tackle perhaps with the Zach Tom injury. Wherever he ends up, I'm excited to see that. And obviously I think the interior is very important, right? We need to see a lot of, again, Josh Myers. This is it. This could be it for him. So if he wants, to stick around, I think he's going to have to step up. I think a lot of people, pretty much everybody's going to share that sentiment with Josh Myers. Sean Ryan, are we going to see a step up? Jacob Monk is a rookie. Are we going to see a step up? I think that's going to be really interesting. Of course, everybody has highlighted right guard as the position to watch, and it should be Jordan Morgan, Elton Jenkins. I don't know, obviously Monk and Ryan. What's going to happen? I'm thrilled to find out. Is Monk going to get center reps? Is Myers going to get any guard reps? I can't wait to find out what is going to happen with the offensive line. Hopefully a couple guys take steps up. I know a lot of people are waiting on Tenuta, a lot of people waiting on Caleb Jones. We're going to get to see them, of course. So Offensive line for me is the top position to watch for sure. I know that there's one spot on the defensive side of the ball that's probably most of yours, but you should definitely drop in the comments what y'all think your favorite position to watch this summer will be. But for me, it's offensive line, just because I think there's going to be some much needed competition. There's a couple versatile players that could get moved around. And so I'm excited to see how all of that shakes out. Now, as far as the defensive side of the ball, I think it's important to talk about this for sure, how many safeties are going to move around. Because when we looked at safeties in this past draft class, right, we saw, versatility was a heavy component of what Green Bay did. Oladapo had a lot of snaps in the box, playing some slot. He a lot of people talking about, is he going to be a linebacker in some sub packages? Very possible. Evan Williams has played box. He's played deep. He has locked down a deep half really well. Same with Javon Bullard. He locks down a deep half extremely well, but he's an extremely, extremely talented slot player. I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see who's lining up next to X and who's getting slot reps. I think the slot is going to be very, very competitive. Keyshawn Nixon cannot guarantee himself a spot at this point. I think there are guys that are just as talented, if not more, at the position. So he's going to have to fight for that spot as a starter. I know that Hafley wanted him back. He's going to obviously get plenty of reps as a returner. Hopefully not as much. Hopefully the defense takes a step up and he's not returning a lot of kicks. But I do think he's going to get pushed, and I think that's going to be very, very important, as it should be across the defense, really. Other than, Jair, X, Gary, Preston, obviously Van Ness is going to be right behind those two. But I think there's going to be competition, and Kenny, there's going to be competition in a lot of spots, and I'm really excited to see that. But I'm excited to see how many of the rookies at safety get moved around all during training camp. I think it's going to be very, very fun to watch those guys. This one's going to be fun, right? We've had a lot of, Adam says O-line depth definitely going to define this team's season. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I think that, how many guys could step in and play on the interior? How many guys could, step in to play tackle? Right now, you would say, I think if you include Elton Jenkins, right, in that, with Walker, with Morgan, with Tom, you're looking at 4 tackles that you think could, step in and play. But I do think that when you look at the interior, again, it's just going to be a lot of question marks, right? Like, is Royce Newman going to stick around? Like, that's worth asking, of course. But based on what's there right now, is he going to? Where's Andre Dillard going to slot in? That's also very important for the offensive line, right? He comes in on a pretty thin deal, right? It was like I think his 2024 salary is like $1.125 million, which, again, not much at all. So you take a look at that, and is he going to slide in at guard? Is the plan to move Jenkins inside to center? Are the combinations are pretty endless when you look at things. But again, Royce Newman, obviously a free agent after this season. If he gets cut, I think it's because they feel comfortable with the depth they have on the interior, of course. Now, that obviously we didn't really talk about Travis Glover as a rookie. Donovan Jennings came in as a UDFA. They met with him. Obviously, that was heavily talked about. Lasita Smith he was back from Virginia Tech. I think the Cardinals drafted him. The grades haven't been great. I really liked him when he entered the draft out of Virginia Tech. I'm excited to see where they slot him a lot more as training camp goes on. Is he just a camp guy? Potentially, but I can't wait to see where he ends up, as well as Dillard, and kind of how they fall in line there. Good evening, Eric Sutherland. How's it going? Good to see you. Royce Newman is a bum, says Eric as well, and 3 million reasons. Yeah, the Packers got some wiggle room, a little bit of wiggle room. They could make a move, and for sure, as Prince Capsaicin says, with that 3 million, you add that on. If they cut Royce Newman, you have the chance to maybe go around, send out some feelers, pick up a guy who gets cut. Right there's going to be. Goody's going to stay active throughout the summer, taking a look at guys. So especially when they do the joint practices. I know that's not as talked about as much when we're talking about joint practices. We want to see how the players are doing in Green Bay, how they're handling certain competition against insert player here on either side of the ball. But it's also a good look for Goody to be like, yeah, I like this guy a lot. As if this guy doesn't stick with this team and he's practice squad, maybe we want him for our roster. So there's going to be a lot of that too. And that 3 million reasons for sure is important. Yeah, Newman and the 3 rookies inside. There's going to be just a lot of question marks that they hope they can answer on that interior, and I'm excited to see that for sure. Wide receiver competition is going to be awesome. And I know we've kind of talked about can we settle on who's wide receiver 1 in the offense? I have my own take on that for sure of who wide receiver 1 should be based on what I want wide receiver 1s to do. Now, there are some wide receivers, ones who, bring a little bit of a different element to their offense. But I feel like separation is the name of the game and will continue to be. And the way Wicks has played, for me, I feel like he's that guy. I know Dobbs has gotten better, and it has been cool to see him develop more as a receiver. Jaden Reed is a lot of fun to use in a variety of ways. I hope the Packers continue to get creative with how they deploy him. And Watson, when healthy, is a nightmare for defenses. But I still think that Wicks, just sum of all parts, is that guy. However, with the speed of Watson, right, with that big playability, with Jaden Reed's versatility, Dobbs as a reliable player, Wicks as a separator reliable player, and then you add Bo Melton's speed into the mix, that's 6 guys already, right? Or no, that's 5. And the 6th, I think, Malik Heath might get that nod, perhaps, just because another bigger guy, catch through contact, that type of player. But there's no guarantees. Samori Toure, no guarantees. Grant Dubose, we really didn't see a lot of him. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more. And then a couple guys, Julian Hicks, Dimitri Stanley, right? So receiver's going to be fun. I can't wait to see if, Bo Melton gets more reps, perhaps with the 1s, which would be really exciting. Full off season for him to kind of, get going a little bit more, which I'm excited about. But yeah, I think Dubose over Heath, says Prince Capsaicin. I think it's possible. I think Heath in the preseason did a lot of things well. When he was asked in the regular season to do certain things, the catch through contact wasn't as good as I expected it to be for him. However, I do think him making the team, UDFA makes the team, plays in his rookie season. I think it's going to be tough for Green Bay to say, all right, yeah, we didn't see a whole lot, but he was a UDFA and he got some, game reps. But we'll see. Dubose, a lot of people liked him ahead of the draft. So, there's sometimes it takes an off season or two, right? For Dubose, maybe, this is kind of that off season for him where he's like, all right, now I kind of understand how things need to go. I'm ready. My body's ready. Mentally, I'm ready to handle a lot of things. And maybe he does pass Malik Heath. So I'm excited to see for sure that matchup. Eric Sutherland looking forward to see Dubose. Yes, for sure. He's got that traditional kind of X build. There's some work that he does separation wise that is encouraging. The fact that he goes up and gets the football, has a bigger catch radius at receiver, which, not that Dobbs and Wicks don't have pretty good catch radii. Obviously Watson's is tremendous. But Heath does kind of give you a little bit more of that than the others do. And like Eric Sutherland points out, Heath is a darn good blocking wide receiver. And guys who buy in like that, obviously LaFleur takes notice. It helps with a lot of different things with, I'm sure, how they're going to run screen game to the outside, right? Run a lot of the reverse stuff. I remember in the playoff game against Dallas, the screen to Aaron Jones, kind of that swing pass. They get 3 guys out there to block. When he buys in, and Heath is bought into that, it gets noticed. There's no doubt about it. And that's I think, a big contributing factor into why he made the roster. I know he made some jaw-dropping plays, but he blocked his butt off. He took a dude to the sideline, right? That's the kind of stuff you get that gets noticed in the preseason. So I'm very excited about that wide receiver competition. This is obviously the big one, right? Corner 2. What are we going to find out about Eric Stokes? What are we going to find out about Carrington Valentine? All right, Carrington Valentine entering year 2. Eric Stokes entering a contract year. How is that going to shape up? I'm excited to find out. I think when you look at how Stokes played in college, it was something I went back in and looked a little bit a little while ago. I think that Stokes was at his best, up in your face, disrupt, run and chase, and stay in the hip pocket. Like, that was what made Stokes really good initially. It was kind of the off-coverage transition game that I think Stokes struggled with the most at Georgia. And I think obviously there was some flashes, right, early in this first contract as I believe a rookie. Injuries have obviously derailed a lot of stuff for him. But when he can get in your face, turn and run, that could be a big deal in this Jeff Hafley defense. But Carrington Valentine, I think, has better awareness, and he still has that level of competitive toughness, press man type of, or even cover 2 press type of corner, to where I think Hafley will like him a lot as well. Speaking of competitive press corners who can get up there and play some soft press, get in your face, Kalen King, rookie Kalen King. We can't forget about that. I think that, it was not a great 2023 for him. However, when he's at his best, it was either, okay, I'm in off coverage a little bit, right? I'm sinking, but I'm still in this sort of soft press look where I can contact you early in the stem. Or it's I'm contacting you at the line of scrimmage. That's when he played the best, when he can get his eyes back around on the football. That's when Kalen King was at his best. Other than that, when he's in off coverage, when he's trying to react, when he's trying to not give up, the deep ball, right? He's trying not to get beat deep. He opens early. He has issues transitioning. If he can get into a specific spot, and maybe this is what Hafley saw and this is what Goody saw, that like, hey, Kalen King, like this is what he does well. If we can get him into certain situations, maybe we can find the best of him that we kind of saw in 2022. So I'm excited to see how cornerback 2 shakes out. I mean, obviously Corey Ballantyne's, going to be in that conversation with the second team, of course. They did bring in Robert Rochelle, and don't forget about him. But I do think Stokes, Valentine, those two are going to get the best chances, of course, for cornerback 2. But that's really exciting. I can't wait to see this. Judah Time says, Bo Melton is number 2 wide receiver if given snaps. I think I had Bo Melton higher than Dobbs in the grading back in 2022. But it should be interesting to see what he does with more snaps, because there's obviously some hyper efficiency there. That's obviously limited. That's, of course, because of the small sample size, but I'm excited for Bo Melton. Daniel Porch is saying Bo Melton is a great receiver. Hello, Daniel. How are you doing this evening? Brian is back. Brian, what's going on? How you doing, buddy? Hopefully you're knee deep, maybe waist deep in the draft stuff already this summer. Proud, not proud. Regretfully, I'm well behind. But we'll get there. So, and Brian dropping in that Valentine should be corner 2. I think he's shown the most, right, compared to everybody else. And I think that's very clear. But who knows? It's going to be, a lot of it's dependent on, like, Stokes is actually, like, fully ready to go, which is crazy to think about at this point, but that's kind of where we're at. So I'm it'll be kind of a wait and see. How does Stokes look against, he should be playing in the preseason for sure. As will guys probably like Valentine as well. I know Anthony Johnson Jr. is not somebody we really touched on yet. I'm just interested to see if there's any thoughts from Hafley and from, guys when they get into camp about like, hey, like this is where Anthony Johnson Jr. played his best ball. Should we move him back there? Right? Obviously, the goal, I think, initially was like, okay, he's played some safety. That's where we're going to go. Right? Like he's going to make that transition. He played a lot of slot snaps in that 3-3-5. at Iowa State. Could he be in the conversation at slot? A lot of moving parts there in that secondary, and that's what's really, really fun. Eric Sutherland saying Ballantyne played well when called on. Yeah, he didn't do too bad, and that type of reliability, if he continues to show that, he should be on the team, no doubt. Joseph is back. What's going on? Good to see you as well. Says Zach Tom and Carter Kraft torn pec injuries are slightly concerning. Yeah, they haven't really talked about it much. I expect them to address it when things get going here in under a week. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll hear more on that. If the news isn't good, I'm sure you'll hear kind of a little bit less about either of those guys. If it's kind of like, yeah, we're just kind of wait and see mode. Yeah, he's taking his time. That's where you kind of go, okay, this was a little more serious. But listen, happens in the off season, right? A lot of time to get back ready to go. Would rather it be now than us sitting here in December wondering if either of them could return. So concerning, yeah, a little bit. I would say Tom and Kraft more concerning than the Jordan Love contract, for sure. So you're all in that Sleeper Toledo film. Goodness sakes. Not surprising, though. Not surprising from Brian. He dives in very quickly, and it's very impressive. Adam asking, so Green Bay has all the slots now, essentially. And Brian saying they have like 5 guys. I mean, Nixon, Bullard for sure. Evan Williams can certainly do it. Anthony Johnson, probably. Oladapo, yeah. I mean, that's at least 5 right there. And that's not including, some of these other corners. Yeah, it's at least 5. It's at least 5 for sure. Yeah, but I think they did. I guess you could say it was overkill at slot, but also I think you could say that, there's versatility in the safety room, I think is another way to put it, where you have guys who can do a bunch of different things, have proven to do it at a pretty good level, and you just kind of let the chips fall where they may. Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, if either are next to Xavier McKinney week 1, if it's Williams, I imagine Bullard won the slot job, and you feel comfortable still at safety because there are other options there when you look at Oladapo and where he's played. I know some people talk about Zane Anderson, but if you have Bullard playing safety, right, if he's playing safety with Xavier McKinney, which I think he should be, even though I love what he could do as a slot guy, then it still opens the door for others. Like Nixon could still have the job, but it doesn't mean that Williams can't get snaps there. Anthony Johnson Jr. could get snaps there. So they did maybe go overkill, but it does seem like there's enough versatility there, and there's enough safety experience where they're not gonna be hurting at safety because there's too many guys in the slot. So Joseph thinks Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd will be game changers for the offense. Feed them both. Let Love control the play action game. Since you brought that up, Joseph, let's do this. So we've done O-line, we've done receiver, we've done safety, we've done corner 2, haven't we? I only have a couple more storylines to talk about. There's a couple. But it's funny that Joseph mentions this right here. And Prince Capsaicin getting into one as well, which I like. We'll talk about that as well. But Marshawn Lloyd, I think, he should have our attention. Why? Because if the feel around like camp and preseason, once we get there and once things are moving, if he's progressing in the right direction, fumbles, you're not seeing that, right? There has been, significant progress, and maybe Jacobs, maybe it's not kind of maybe people don't see 2022 Josh Jacobs, which I'm not saying that's not impossible. If Lloyd cleans up the fumbling, his talent is really, really impressive. And I think Matt Waldman, who I respect a lot in the space, talked about this with Lloyd. And it's like if the ball security, which is a big, big deal, if it's cleaned up, I think he said he would have jumped like 7 spots in the rankings just based on projection and how things could go for him if that is cleaned up. Because it's hard to stay on the field when you're turning the ball over, obviously. And so if he cleans that up, upside in the passing game, we've seen a little bit of it, right? He's able to stick his nose in. He needs to get better with technique. He needs to not stick his head so far down in pass protection. But the quick instincts, the reaction processing from him, the transition from east-west to north-south with incredible acceleration is all there. And we kind of talked about this in the recap, a little while ago. But man, when he hits, a different gear out there and he's humming and he's got the rhythm, it is impressive and tough to stop. So, I think Lloyd could easily be a game changer year one and pretty quickly, end of September, early October, where it's just kind of like, yeah, we got to get this guy in the field more, right? And that could easily happen. And then it gives you kind of nice flexibility with Josh Jacobs. It's like, well, he's talented. He's having a solid year. We keep him 1 year, and that's it. And then you capitalize, not to get ahead of ourselves, on what should be a very, very good running back class in the 2025 NFL draft. So that's good news there. But if Lloyd, needs to take his time and there's, processing questions based on the scheme and stuff like that, then he can come along a little bit slower. You have Josh Jacobs in there ready to roll. So, yes, running back going to be very, very fun, no doubt. Chris N., how's it going, man? Says, is Kalen King going to make the team? I think he could if he is, as long as he shows off that playmaking skill set and he shows off the physicality, right? He flies downhill. He's a good tackler. He's proven that part of the game. If he continues to work on his feel and coverage, stay patient, play physical and aggressive with receivers, he could make it. I don't think corner is essentially locked down to this point, right? You have Jair, obviously. Stokes is going to make the team. Right, and obviously Carrington Valentine's going to make the team. You think Valentine makes the team. Rochelle, maybe. It's not a guarantee. Depending on where Anthony Johnson Jr. plays, obviously can play a part in that. King doesn't have a guarantee. It's an uphill battle. He's going to have to show something, for sure. But he could easily do the Malik Heath thing. And Heath was maybe, we would call him in a little bit more crowded room. Right, Malik Heath was showing out, and everybody was kind of, receiver room's kind of deep. If King shows out, like the cornerback room is not super deep. I think a lot of people were very concerned Green Bay didn't address corner enough in the draft. I think that was the one thing where I was like, probably should have done that a little bit more. So if they're searching for something and King provides it, he should be on it. But if we still see kind of the panicky guy in off coverage, then I think it's practice squad for him. So I think I would say it's true 55-45 yes, I'll say for Kalen King. Say 55% yes, 45% no. It's close. It's very close to a coin flip for me. Let's talk about this. Prince kept saying Brenton Cox versus Kingsley and Igbare coming off injury for defensive end 4 could be a battle for sure. The one thing with Brenton Cox Jr. is the size a little bit. If they're gonna be okay with him being super light, I forget if he's up at all. I kind of got to look and see where he's at, because I know he obviously comes in at like 250, right, when he was drafted. So there, I think the question would be, even if he adds weight, I think the question with him is going to be, can he find a home to play early downs at all? Or is he just going to come in on third down? Like, obviously, I think the question there is going to be like, does he provide enough juice as a pass rusher on third down to the point where, like, yeah, this is easy keep. Like, situationally, he's going to help us a ton, and Hafley sees that. Yeah, then I think, we're good to roll. But, like, Enagbare just, I think, provides more right now in terms of the full skill set to play defensive end. I think that's where you have to kind of look at things. I think watching Brenton Cox in early down situations is really going to be telling for the defensive end 4 spot. That's really all it's going to be. I think if he shows enough there, then I think it gets interesting. If he doesn't, then it's like, all right, he's defensive end 5. He's pass rush specialist, right? We're going to get him on the field and we can get exotic with blitz looks because he's got enough athleticism, drop to coverage a little bit. We can get creative with the blitz packages with him. So I think that's going to be the question. How does Brenton Cox do on early downs? Then it's if it's good, then we've got a battle on our hands. Daniel says a question: which kicker do you think will be selected to play? I mean, I know they signed Greg Joseph. I know it was a decent little deal there, 1.15-ish million. I still think unless, and I think we kind of talked about this on Derailed, unless Greg Joseph just dominates, is unbelievable, and Carlson is just on the struggle bus consistently, and it leaks from extra points for Carlson into longer kicks, into the 30 to 40 yard stuff, then there's a problem. Then Greg Joseph takes it. But if it's like, oh, maybe Joseph's been a little bit better than Carlson, then I think Carlson keeps it. I think Joseph has to completely leave no doubt who the better kicker is to win the job, which I don't expect that to happen. So I would say Carlson gets the nod to start week 1. I think Green Bay has shown restraint at the kicker position. They've shown the patience, and I think they're going to do it again, would be my guess. Joseph is going to have to run away by several miles in the kicking competition to win the job. Adam Huddle already thrown out guys at running back, Devin Neal or DJ Giddens, Packers 2025. Devin Neal, I'm in. Count me in. And I got some, I believe Giddens is, boy, shows you where I'm at usually in the summer. I believe DJ Giddens is Kansas State, right? I believe. Yeah. Giddens just got some Kansas State film last year. So the full go. So I'm gonna take a look at that for Giddens to get some full thoughts on him for sure. But yes, Devin Neal very much in there on him if Jacobs is let go, no doubt. Eric Sutherland says his breakout player this year is Isaiah McDuffie. That's interesting. I think linebacker is looking for somebody that's going to be a position where you're going to have to see someone just kind of like take control. Like, I want the green dot. I take control of this. Otherwise, I think McKinney's going to get the green dot for sure. But they're looking for somebody to step up in that room. Is Walker going to do it in year 3? Is Adrian Cooper going to do it immediately? Right? Like, I think McDuffie's going to have a role because I think it's still to the point where you have inexperience and, McDuffie has shown enough early down reliability. So we'll see. I like that shout by Eric Sutherland there. Adam Huddle says, guessing Brenton Cox is too slow for the system. It's possible. I just don't know if you're going to let him play on early downs. That's the thing. That's really the thing for me, is early down playing for Brenton Cox. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Brian already saying Giddens would fit this offense. Eric, I'm in agreement. X should have the green dot. I think he has, again, just a really uncanny ability to see the field well. And I know that's usually fundamental for the safety position, but there are definitely safeties who are just really good at seeing half the field and are good at playing more in the box and attacking in the short area. Whereas I think McKinney does a really nice job of seeing everything as a single high. So I agree. I think the green dot should be his. If McDuffie's a breakout player, could they give it to him? Maybe. But yeah, I think McKinney getting the green dot is the right move. So I want to talk about QB2 for a second because I think that's something else. Obviously, don't feel free to keep dropping questions and comments, of course. But after this, Brian says Hunter from Auburn, Tootin from Virginia Tech. I've not seen the Virginia Tech guy at all. So that would be interesting. Brian already talking 2025 running backs. We'll have to do a 2025 show on here eventually. Usually I do the 2025 mock draft, and I've usually done it significantly earlier than this. So we're probably going to have to get on that. But QB2, okay, important discussion to have here because teams are making more investment into QB2 as they should be, right? I think that at this moment, I would want Pratt to be QB2. But, I think there's going to be a lot of excitement because Sean Clifford, he had all that he's got that gamer type to him where, he's just kind of battling out there like a Minshew does at times where he's slinging the rock, he's making confident throws, and he can, he has a nice job escaping pressure. However, I think Pratt is going to be a calmer presence in the pocket. I think he's going to be able to process quickly. I think his 2022 season was really underrated, and 2023 not as good. I don't think it was a bad year for him. And I know Senior Bowl didn't go great for Pratt. I just think that Pratt should win the job. However, there's no guarantee for him winning the job. I still think they should keep 3 quarterbacks, period, because, again, QBs get hurt. These last 2 years have seen the most QB starting games, so you have to have a plan at quarterback. And so the investment in Pratt in the 7th round was a no-brainer. I think most of us would say that. I'm rooting for Pratt to win the QB2 job because I really enjoyed watching Pratt in college, and I think he can do it. I think some people, including myself, would say that he has spot starter potential. I think most of us didn't think that with Clifford. So obviously a lot of the pre-draft, discussion and analysis on these guys is probably going to dictate how you feel about the position. But it's possible that, maybe Pratt doesn't come along as quickly. He still gets the QB3 job. He still makes the team. But maybe Clifford, maybe gets the nod for experience. We'll see. I do expect Pratt to win it, but there are no guarantees at yes. This is very true. Yeah. I agree with this 100%, but Eric Sutherland saying you lose Pratt before you lose Clifford on the practice squad. 100%. I still would keep 3 just because there's just a chance, guys, that Love could miss a game this year or 2. And it's nice to have more than one option for sure during that game where it happens. And of course, kind of leaving us not having to always use the spot to elevate the QB. So stronger arm, Pratt or Matt Flynn? Pratt, for sure. I feel like the vibes around Matt Flynn are very Sean Clifford-like. He was better for sure, but that's what those vibes feel like for sure. Yeah, Prince Capsaicin says, I think there's a good chance to keep all 3. Yeah, you might want to test it with anyone. Yeah, if anybody gets people are going to see Clifford, people are going to see that gamer type, and NFL front offices will probably, kind of be like, is that another Minshew? And they may take a chance. Teams are not going to fool around at quarterback. They're going to make sure they have a lot of options. So I think they should keep all 3. No questions asked. Adam says, bring me Jordan James. My Mafi likes James. I think Oregon is going to roll this year. If they're not in the national title game, I'd be very surprised. I'd be very, very surprised. So, hi, Dana. What's going on? Welcome back to you as well. Appreciate you jumping on. So that's really all I had, guys, in terms of what, the battles at certain positions. I know, when we talk about defensive tackle, I think it's going to be interesting, how much could Carl Brooks cut into Devontae Wyatt's rotation as a potential starter, right? Obviously, Kenny Clark extension looming. Is that going to happen? He's got some he should at least have some motivation when it comes to that. So defensive tackle is something that I didn't expect them to just kind of stay pat at the position. I thought, I think a lot of us, we were kind of talking about this before the draft, was like Johnny Newton, Byron Murphy. Like, if they get there, what could we see? Like, I think I think it was very split on like Tavondre Sweat or not, right? A lot of people are talking about Chris Jenkins, as they should have been. Surprised they didn't do a lot. And so Wooden, is he going to move back inside? Do they feel confident about that? Obviously, as Prince Capsaicon says, Slayton's in the contract year as well. We're going to see his best ball. It's a little thin in there for my liking at defensive tackle. Could someone step up that's, flying well under the radar right now? Perhaps. They've got 10 on the defensive line. That obviously doesn't count. At least some sites have Smith, Gary Van Ness, and Enigbari and Brenton Cox all as linebackers technically, which they shouldn't be in a 4-3, but that's a conversation for later. I'm interested to see what defensive tackle looks like, because I think a lot of people are excited about Karl Brooks, and rightfully should be. Devontae Wyatt, more one-gap situations, should be more effective. So, I think there's a lot to be decided in that regard as well. So we've kind of almost gone through all the positions, funny enough. We didn't really talk about tight end a whole lot, which, I think it's going to be 4 guys. And, Ben Sims should be still excited about that. Obviously, Tyler Davis, 1 year left as well on his contract. Wouldn't be mad if they got into some 13 personnel this year. And that's something I've talked about on Derailed in terms of like a wish list. Come out in 13, have Watson out there, and you still have a lot of speed on the field with Watson and Musgrave. Could be very, very exciting. But, I think tight end seems like the one spot where it's like, this is pretty much locked down. There's not a whole lot that could happen. Running backs probably similar to that with Jacobs, Lloyd, and then obviously Dillon and Wilson. So that seems pretty set in stone too. Again, receiver is going to be tough for guys to crack the roster. It's really about a couple guys showing some progress as they're getting into year 2. We kind of talked about O-line being that spot that's got the most competition going on, as well as slot and safety. So there's no doubt about that. Eric says, I think the 4-3 helps Wyatt and Kenny most. Yeah, it should help Wyatt a lot. Kenny Clark, definitely. I think he should get a boost there as well. I feel like as you look for breakout players this year, I think Brooks and Wicks should be at the top of every list, just because of, again, how good of a separator Wicks is against man, how much he can show as a deep ball player, and just him taking another step in terms of working with his eyes and footwork to deceive guys at the line of scrimmage, at the top of routes. Just feels like he's already detailed in that approach. He has some yak ability to him. The suddenness, it's just all there. And then Brooks, the two-hand swipe is nasty. And I just think he plays with enough aggression, but doesn't get too over-aggressive. I think that's what's going to be big for Karl Brooks. It's going to be big for Wyatt too, but I think that's why Karl Brooks could be that guy who takes a step. So there you go. Oregon, Ohio State going to be epic. I think Georgia's going to have something to say about that. Oh, wait. Adam's talking about in season. Right, don't they play? That's so bad. That's so bad. I thought you were talking about, yeah. Week 7. Week 7, Ohio State, Oregon. Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be really, really fun. I guess some people could say, I know, Adam, you probably didn't mean it, but I think some people could say that's the national title game. I still think Georgia will be in it. I think they've got, something to prove after last year, losing by 3 once and not making it. I think they're going to be hungry, which is not a good thing for the rest of college football. So, yeah, if you guys, we don't have any more questions, I think it's, nice small stream. We'll obviously get things back and rolling on Fridays for sure going forward. And obviously no derailed tonight. We should be back rolling on that next Monday. So there you go. Pre-order the new Madden just to see these guys get to work early. There you go. So, hey, Cody, we all are pumped for the season. There's no doubt about it. I think it's to the point where, we had the draft. You kind of have some summer. You get outside. You do some stuff. And now it's kind of like, all right, the itch, it's starting for football season a lot more. I'm excited for us to get there. So it's going to be a good time. Yeah, I definitely could. Yeah, this feels correct. I'm with you, Adam. I would be shocked if Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon are not in the Final Four. We could get another nice Georgia, Ohio State matchup in the semifinal, which everybody should be itching for that. I know it's a little bit of an advantage at the quarterback position for Georgia there, but I'm just the playoff with 12 teams is going to be incredible. There's no doubt about it. So, with that being said, if there are no more questions, a couple things I want to make sure y'all are doing. Make sure y'all have that notification bell on because, like I said, the videos are going to be coming back here. I know I missed out on a few prospects, so I think we're going to do those. If you guys want that, let me know. If you want to see stuff on Williams, you want to see stuff on Kalen King a little bit. Who else do I need to do? I could do a little bit on Tyron Hopper. I got to be careful with Hoppers a little bit more. But I can definitely do Williams, King. If you want to see a little bit on Glover and what kind of makes him a project, I can get that going. There will be some other team stuff as well around the league. Obviously, we're going to have some second-year breakout stuff, some rookie film looks at with Wicks, with Brooks, with Reed, with Valentine. So there's going to be a lot of stuff like that. Again, if you have suggestions for videos, you can always drop them in the comments here. I hear the thunder outside now, so I feel like it's probably a good time to call it just in case internet decides to cut out. So for those, Joseph's got one more thing. Honestly, this season comes down to Jordan Love. Do we get the first 8-9 games or last 8-9 games? What would be interesting, Joseph, is what we got. Like, what does the middle look like, and how would the season turn out if he was more in the middle of those, where he didn't have the real low lows? He shows the high highs a few times, but he maybe finds a happy medium. I wonder what that season would look like. But I do agree. If they come out slow again, it could be again like last season where it's fighting and fighting and fighting down the stretch for a playoff spot. I don't think it's going to get any easier for them. Let's do that really quick. Weather moving in Michigan also. Yeah, I think Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois all about to get a little bit here. He does just need to be in the middle. Let's do this really quick. Let me share the screen here so we can do that. Yeah, let's take a peek. I think it's going to be more difficult, right? Like, I think that, I think the Philly and Indy start isn't going to be an easy one for me personally. I think it's, going to be tougher. Philly's not going to be any slouch. I think they're going to be better than last year down the stretch. And I think Indy's got a lot of breakout potential this year with Richardson. Tennessee could be a little frisky if Levis is better. Minnesota, I think, will be the kind of the cakewalk early in the schedule. The Rams are a playoff team last year. They're no slouch when Stafford's healthy. I know they don't have Aaron Donald anymore. I think Arizona's not going to be easy either. Houston, Jacksonville, there just aren't a lot of, to me at least, even the Bears. I know I hate to say that. San Francisco, Miami, Detroit twice, obviously. Seattle, New Orleans, Minnesota, Chicago. Okay, I think the pushovers are Minnesota a little bit, and I think this schedule late here down the stretch, Minnesota, New Orleans, Seattle, I think could be a pretty soft point in their schedule. But other than that, they're going to really have to show up every week. You're going to need to get the best out of them. Obviously, Tennessee and Arizona could end up being cakewalks. I just don't think they will be. I think they're going to test the defense a lot. And in many different ways, right? Indy's going to test the defense, and Philly, running quarterbacks, dynamic running backs, and honestly, an offensive line that's pretty strong. The Colts are pretty good offensive line-wise. Philly obviously loses Kelsey, but, Juergens has been prepped for this role. So it's going to be pretty similar looks here. Eagles have better receivers, of course. They're going to test the corners, but overall, these could be very similar tests for the defense. This is going to strain the corners a lot, right? You get Ridley, you get Hopkins. Obviously, I think Arizona's going to test them a lot with moving guys around. They're going to have multiple tight ends out there. They're going to gash you with gap running. Now they have Marvin Harrison Jr. as a trump card. It's going to be different for them. Houston's obviously got a lot of firepower at receiver. They add Joe Mixon. Again, Jacksonville maybe not as, scary this go around. Brian Thomas coming in, but they still have Kirk. They still have Ingram. So that'll put pressure. The Lions are going to put heavy pressure on them. The Bears are going to do a lot of ISO stuff at receiver. Shanahan's going to present stuff. So is McDaniel. So, it's not going to be easy. Could be depending on the defense, but really, truly, Adam, could be depending on the offense to score a good bit of points still and be in that mode for a lot of the season. At least early, while the defense may struggle to kind of, even though it's a simple defense, they might just need to give them a little bit of time. But we'll see. Adam says as long as Halfley doesn't let Richardson look like Cam the way Green Bay did, they might let him look like Cam. They might. I think with Adonai Mitchell, Pittman, Downs, and Taylor, and an offensive line that's good, if Richardson has cleaned up enough and he's healthy, get the popcorn ready because I think it'll be a good game. So there you go. A little bit of schedule to look at just because wanted to see it, of course. But thank you guys all for tuning in for a little bit of a shorter stream. I know we usually, the weekly Cheddar regulars, they know we like to go 2 hours plus. But like I said, the weather could present a tough situation out here. So we're going to get out of here. But thank you guys so much for showing up. Appreciate that. Adam, Joseph, Eric, Cody, Prince Capsaicin, Dana dropped by, Brian, of course, dropping by, which was great. Daniel, Chris N. Mentioned Joseph, I believe. Judah Time. It was nice to see y'all back and commenting because we're back in the football swing of things. As I mentioned, videos will be back. I think we're going to do some more draft stuff during the season, just kind of scratch the itch for people like that. But you'll get a lot of Packers, as you always will on this channel. So thank you guys so much. Maybe hit that like button on the way out. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. But thank you all. Thank you all so much. Have a good evening, everybody. Prince, Adam, Eric, and Chris, of course, and everyone else who tuned in and liked and enjoyed. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night.